Welcome, everyone. We are joining Earthstock Grandmothers Council and Earthstock Wisdom Council to bring you a discussion on creating a new way to mend the sacred hoop. We gather in the moonlight in 4 days after the new moon each month and share with you our hopes of finding a new way to return to sacred ways. We're grateful to Michael DiMartino and Earthstock Foundation for bringing us all together in this way.
And we're going to start with Gail's presentation for today's topic. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome, friends. Kalia Koskoi, Dancing Heron, Dances with Death. Call me Gail. In my ancestral Salagi homeland, the river basin Wayumi Ganaita Takiosti, on our sacred mountain Adagul, which means helping many people. We are the people who resisted both removal on the Trail of Tears and the reservation the federal government calls Cherokee. We resisted by hiding in these mountains, and our sacred mountains continue to encourage and support appropriate resistance. We are gathering in our series on mending the sacred hoop, and this is our third session. We hope that you will watch the first 2 sessions and join us on our journey through the process of Majjhimika Buddhist, a very ancient tradition that looks at all 4 positions, holding the tension of the opposites until they are transformed. Today we gather in the West. The West is where the water finds its home and makes its way between the worlds, along with our spirit helpers who come and go in the West. Also the thunders and the lightning at this time in the spring wake up the plants and the animals to tell them it's time to grow. We hope that you have recognized the way we start with the feminine and the way the feminine holds the masculine in balance to create new life on earth. Together, they mediate between the worlds to bring the spirits into this time on earth. Also, you'll see the example of both masculine and feminine in the shell of the turtle. The masculine is hard protection for the vulnerable inner feminine body and energy. The more masculine a man can be as a helper and protector of the feminine, then the more feminine a woman can be, the more new life is nurtured on earth, as together we hold the tension of the opposites as they reconcile and transform. This creates balance, and you see in the video the man walking this path comes into perfect balance with his feet apart. But in order to move forward and take the next step, he needs the awareness that he will come out of balance as one leg moves forward. And he must hold that tension with the awareness that brings him back into balance. with each step that he takes. The body does this naturally for us. But when we do it mindfully, we become more aware of our choices, and we are actually creating balance and beauty in each choice that we make. So we hope that you will watch all of these sessions and join us after we complete the 4 positions. Those positions are is not, going in through the opposites, then this one of both, is and is not, and then neither is nor is not. And we satisfy karma of the past harm that has been done by bringing it into balance in these ways. We hope that you will join us after our 4th session in the discussion of creating a new way, together, in a circle where all are equal.
Thank you, Michael, for playing those videos. And this time I would like to invite our eldest grandmother, Marcia, if you can join us and share your message on both and in our session tonight. We welcome you.
Well, to looking at the both and, looking from the masculine, the feminine, the duality of culture, duality of thinking, and we look at the hoop, a circle that is in itself a full connection of the is and the connection of life, the connection and the flow of the masculine, the feminine, and looking at the what is not, the duality, the conflict, the in the overshadowing of our cultures that think that women, feminine needs to be masculine, masculine needs to be feminine, the confusion of the rightful flow. When we look at the turtle, it's a unit, the masculine, the hard shell on the top connecting, and it is connected to the vulnerable feminine. That if you take the shell from the vulnerable feminine, the feminine is exposed and diminished in that femininity, to the point where it all can be completely removed from the picture. But when we look at the we look at like the fulcrum, the unity, the field that is the masculine and the feminine, we see the cooperation, the beauty of the design, the beauty of the compatibility of the masculine and feminine. We see that it's like the man walking. While he lifted his foot and was in the imbalance, there was a part of him holding the tension of the move, holding the tension of the flow. That's in a seesaw. It would be that fulcrum that has the tension up and down, and it stays in unity with one another. As one rises, the other falls. And so the coming together with both is very much like in holding the tension and the intention for that wholeness, for that the connecting of the hoop, for the compassion for the is not that really holds and keeps us in the balance, not only in our walk, in our talk, in our thinking. When we look outside of ourselves and point to blame somebody for the imbalance, we've given energy to the imbalance. When we hold the tension and the intention like the fulcrum for the wholeness of life, we then bring both together, and we hold the both of the togetherness, masculine and feminine, come together in the cooperation of the movement and the flow of life, the flow of thinking, the flow of culture, and the flow of the continuous flow of the circle that becomes the hoop, that is the hoop of life. Um, Holding the tension, holding the intention. We don't realize many times how powerfully intention fits into the field of both. We are careless in our thinking many times, that and we've and our opinions many times, that that we want to see the responsibility, see or think the holding of the tension is outside of ourselves, when it's truly our intention. The hoop is full, the hoop is whole, the hoop is not broken by the imbalance that is really just part of the flow, part of the waves of the water as it makes its way down the stream in its natural flow. So that's what I see about the both, the beauty of the coming together of the both, the yin and yang, as they say, the holding of that space that is becomes the whole.
Thank you, Marcia. You remind me that the water takes the form of the vessel, and
Yes.
as it rolls down the mountain, it seeks the lowest spot. So many things we can learn from water. At this time, I'd like to ask our next grandmother, Patricia, in Brazil, to share with us, please.
Well, good evening. Hello to everyone from this part of the world. Actually, what came to me as we're talking in this topic about the female and the masculine, the imbalance, the yin and the yang, is something that we have to look within ourselves to have that experience that we have within us, the yin and the yang, the feminine and the masculine. It's part of it. And if we don't integrate that, we're going to go overboard in one way or the other. So I thought of as a possibility is that we experience that actually and not just talk about it. So whoever can, just stand up a little bit. Just, stand up a little bit. And if you can, just put your feet on the ground and just feel your body and just let go completely to the ground, the weight, everything. And just, shake a little bit just so that you have, let's loosen up and see how this energy flows and how that experience of the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine comes. So first, let's just shake a little bit, let loose everything that is tense, our contractions, our, and leave your mouth a little bit open just to let go, loosen up, let your chin go down, twirl your head, put your ear on one shoulder and rest there for a little bit. Then continue flowing your chin to the sky. And then come back. Same way, cross over, go to the other side. Rest your ear on this other shoulder and feel the openness. Continue leading your chin up to the sky. And then come back again. And for a little bit, just let's let go of everything. Just let your body hang over as if we had a little cord behind our backs here holding us and we're like a skeleton. Just let yourself go, completely shaking. Loose. Let everything go to Pachamama, to Mother Earth. All our talks, our blah, blah, blahs, our toxins, everything. And then slowly start coming back, vertebra by vertebra, your spinal cord, till we come to a vertical position straight. And just hang here for a little bit, and we're going to do one more thing before we're going to feel the yin and the yang. Bend your knees a little bit, put in your pelvis, and let your hands, your arms dangle here, and just turn your waist from one side to the other, hitting on one side of your body, the vital centers, and your hand on the back hits the kidneys, just so that we warm up. You people are in spring, I'm in autumn here. And on each side, we have our organs that we're waking up, having the circulation move. And just move your waist and just let it go. We call this the life savior, you know? And then slowly, really slowly stop turning and stop for a while, pause. Your hands facing back, your arms along your body. Let here this, not tight here, but just loose, your hands looking back, your pelvis upward a little bit. And observe and pay attention now to your breathing. Inhale and exhale from the tummy, filling this balloon. And exhaling, and your belly button goes back, and you can, move a little bit your spinal cord, but feeling that this area here is the one that we're filling up with our breathing. And exhale, 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 exhale. And from this place, pause and take all your sense, the front part of your body. Connect with, how does it feel? This part in the front. It's the feminine, it's yin, it's open, it's completely, acknowledging, absorbing, giving, generous. It's just, over here. That's very feminine, so feel it. Don't think about it. Feel this front part of our bodies, soft, easy, flowing. Just observe and feel it. Connect with this area of our bodies, the front, feeling it, its openness. Acknowledging, just, totally open and giving. Now let's take our attention to our back part of our bodies, the backs, the spinal cord, back there. How does that feel? It's holding us. It's like the turtle back, just if we didn't have that, we would fall back. We would be completely dispersed. We need this young energy, this masculine energy to hold us, to keep us in place. So as you breathe in and breathe out, connect with your backs and feel that energy, that if we didn't have that, we would fall back. Something holds us, this masculine energy, young. And now pause, and let's bring both inside, the front yin, the back yang. There's like a cone that goes from the top of the head down to our perineum, to Mother Earth, like if there was a cone, a stick there. And both energies integrate, the feminine and the masculine, in this inner baton, this cone that goes from the top to the bottom, and they are one, integrated, the yin and the yang. Feel it. Very slowly, just inhale, bring your arms to the sides and bring all this amazing energy through the top. Just roll down all the way to Mother Earth. Slowly we can sit down. And one last thing I wanted to mention is that not only in the Taoist tradition, but the Toltecs talked about this configuration that we're open. The feminine is just, the womb, like the womb, it's open totally. And the other one is like this, like a triangle looking to the forward. If we have this way open and we're just lost there and we don't have this one, we're completely, there's no way. But if we're only here looking at that one point in the front of us, the masculine, we don't perceive the entire scenery around us. So we need both energies, this one and this one, the yin and the yang integrated within us. So to experience that in our own selves is very important. Thank you for participating and being here with us.
Thank you, Patricia. It's beautiful to bring our wholeness of our body into our direct experience in these ways as well. And now I would like to invite our Wisdom Council member who holds the direct experience of the sun dance and continues to practice and to take us with him as he holds ceremony to share with us on this topic of both and. Lenny, can you share with us at this time, please?
Welcome, everyone. My honor to be here. My last sharing was talked about the people at Beast here, how they had a vision and the whole tribe left and went west till they found the place where food grew on water. This time I like to share a vision, and call it a prophecy, but to me it's not really a prophecy. It's the way we look at the world. We've been hearing from the feminine tonight. We've been hearing from the grandmothers. We've been hearing from the necessity of integrating with our body. On our very first podcast, we talked about, that the hoop is basically the mind, the emotion, the physical, and the spiritual, which is ceremony. So those are the four things, and those are some of the things we've been talking about. The grandmothers have been talking about tonight. How that's part of the hoop. Well, there's a story of the eagle and the condor prophecy. The eagle and the condor prophecy, the first person that started recording that Western was anthropologist Jeff Jenkins. There's quite a few different versions of the prophecy, because there are, like everything, it's a living thing. It is something that, the ancestors knew, and it was remembered, and it's also been interpreted as time has changed, as the earth has changed, as the people on the earth have changed, the interpretations change. So you might find different versions of it. You can get it from the Hopi, the Quichua and the Indians, Guatemalan Hondurans, the Mexican Mayan, the Ecuadorian Shura, and the Lakota kind of have their own way. There's the seven generation, and there's the seven sacred fires here in Canada, and they all point to a time when the eagle and the condor get separated and have to come together. Through the different generations of emergence, there's a powerful spiritual and physical encounters between the condor and the eagle. And the concepts of the North and the South, which was basically saying that the North and the South, or the eagle and the condor, have to come together. They're going to be separated, and then they come back together again. One version comes from Laura Penastrosa. He's a Peruvian healer that lives in Mexico City. And he spent many time among the Inca people. And to them, they have what they call the Pachacuti, which is it's a time. It's a time that holds, like every 500 years there's a new Pachacuti. And when that, so 500 years ago, roughly, was when the Spanish came to South America and when the English came to North America. That was the beginning of the one. Now, 500 years later, on the 1900s or the 20th century, is the end of that. And the new Pachacuti is when the eagle and the condor will now come back together. So the people's, with that coming together, basically the eagle is represented in the north, the condor is the south. And when the two come back together, which is the time we're doing now, the time of mending the sacred hoop is what we're doing, because that is now is the time of that. Another one that had the one was Willa Huerta. He's also was in the jungles of Peru. And for him, he says that there'll be 500 years of materialism and imbalance, which is what we've had. Then the Clero, another Peruvian group, they've been traveling around to the industrialized nations to hold ceremonies and share that prophecy and that vision as well. The prophecy serves as a way of classifying and understanding changes in the world. This is from John Perkins. This is how he believes it. It's an explanation of two different paths that we human race have taken throughout history. The two paths have diverged time and time again. The prophecy states that time is here when the two paths will potentially conjoin to become one again. Now, the eagle people, and this is very relevant to what the grandmothers were talking about, are typically mind-oriented, industrial, related to the masculine energy. They're often identified with science and technology. They've been the explorers, the colonists, the aggressors in the records of history. Now, the condor people represent the intuitive, the creative, the feeling, related more to the feminine energy. To indigenous people who hold that more feminine side or that more spiritual, ceremonial side. They prioritize the heart and the brain and mysticism over rationalism. I mean, you can think of the Tibetan too in the East. It's not just North America. They also, when you were talking about the yin and the yang, they also hold similar feelings like that and similar philosophies. So there also some believe that this is the fifth Pachacuti, which is the time of change. There'll be a portal for the eagle and the condor to fly together in one sky. And that basically they will mate and create a new offspring, a new beginning, a higher human consciousness. Some say that the Quetzal bird of Central America, this Mayan bird, is the symbol of bringing together the heart and the mind, of art and science, the male and the feminine. We can look at the eagle and the condor as two different birds. Or we can look at it as two different families. Separate. We have the north. We have the masculine. And we have to come together as a family now. Now is the time we need to join together. We need to bring together the side that understands the science of the world and the technologies, the industries, the innovations, with the side that understands the human soul, the connection to nature and to Earth itself. Then we will have a more healthy, peaceful way of living. Condor is telling us with great intuitive sense, yes, we are creating a nightmare now, that we do need to mend it. Most of us grew up with the eagle culture, especially here in the West. Now coming face to face with the condor culture, more and more of our indigenous people that have been holding the teachings for us, they're coming and sharing them now, because now is the time. It's that Pachakruti. They are showing us those ways of the heart again, the ways of mysticism, the ways of balancing and bringing the hoop all together again. We can't continue with this death economy that we have now, based on war and raping and pillaging Mother Earth, destroying her resources. We need to bring the condor side back, know in our hearts, so we can no longer do this. But the legend also says, we the people need to make it happen. We need to keep pushing to have the condor and the eagle come together and mate and create a higher level of consciousness. It is not by any means an automatic process. It will take all of us bringing together both sides of the path. And that's with the eagle and the condor. I talked about the feminine, we talked about the spiritual, the emotional, and the intellect. We have to blend it all together. We have to walk where it's not separated at all, but it's something that's just a way how we experience the world. I'm going to share a little personal story myself of my traveling in South America. As Gail mentioned, a Sundance, at the time I was just in my beginning of the Sundance. I was in my third year. We have to do 4 years to complete, to become a Sundancer, you have to complete 4 years. And we do fasting. We do 2 days, 2 times a 4-day fasting to prepare us for the dance, no food and water. And I hadn't been able to do that because I've been traveling and that. And so I was a little concerned because my Sundance was coming up and I wasn't sure I was going to be ready. When I started my travels in Venezuela, I went to with my friend to try to get some maps. And in Venezuela, you can't get maps because the government doesn't want people to have them, because it's a sense of power and knowledge. So we went to the university where she worked, and the person that was running the map office that could release them to professors and that happened to be head of indigenous studies. So I had a wonderful conversation with him, and he was had his real good heart in him, right? And he had really good knowledge. And he shared with me how, you know, the Ignis people, we have the Amazon people that are very much alive, but in the mountains, there's really no societies left. They're all extinct. There's no living people that still hold the traditions, you know, and that was him. He was using the intellect, he was using the emotional, and he was using the physical in terms of bringing back, you know, the artifacts and digging and that. So it didn't quite feel right with me though. But anyway, I went on my journey across South America and Lake Tactica, up in there. That's where they have these tortora reeds where they build these floating houses on the lake. And so I did some more of my journeying, came back to visit my friend in Venezuela just before I was to fly home about a year later. And we were visiting, and there's this place they were selling these trinkets and stuff. And there was this little small pond. I wouldn't call it a lake, it was more like a pond. And here were these tortoise weeds growing. And the only place that they've grown that I know of is in the Lake Cactia, which is the highest lake in Bolivia, which, the Incas believe was where life sprung forth. That's their creation story from that lake. And in the other places on the west coast of Peru it is, but those are the other ones. But here I was in Venezuela and I saw these weeds. So I went to the one woman there. She looked indigenous, and I said, "Wow, I know this has got to be a sacred place because I know the reed that's growing there. Somebody had to bring it here, and it's a sacred reed. So, do you know anybody can tell me about that?" So that was from my heart, and that's just what I felt. And I'm sharing this because I'm trying to show if we blend all those things together and walk with our heart and with our physical and intellect and emotional and that spiritual sense, and we just walk with all of that blended, then the universe will give us what we need, take us where we need to be, and show us the ways to heal. So what she did, she said, closed up her shop and said, "Come with me." And she took me. And then she took me to her place, to her sister's place. We walked in there and I could see medicine stuff all over the place. I said, "Oh, wow, the stuff happening here." And she said, "Come with me." And she took it to where her husband was. And her husband was in training to become the medicine leader of the tribe. And the medicine leader, or I just call them medicine persons. Some people will call them shamans, some people call them different things. But to me, it was the head of their tribe that worked with the medicine. And we had to do all this. I didn't speak Spanish, but my friend spoke Spanish. He didn't speak English, so we were all doing this through a translator. But we could sense from each other connection. I shared a little bit about my Sundance, and he started sharing me about his ceremony. And the Sundance, we do a piercing ceremony where we pierce our skin. Well, he said, "I want to share you with what we do in our piercing ceremony." And in South America, it's the condor, but to him, it was the eagle. They had the eagle eye, which was the seed that grew on their highest mountain. Their mountain was sacred mountain, was an eagle mountain, which was unusual in South America. So anyway, what they do is they have this cactus, and the cactus have these long spines in them. So we went to he says, "You have to impale that in me." I said, "Oh, okay." So we did all the preparations for the ceremony, and then part broke off and hit me. He said, "Oh, that means you're supposed to join me." So together we went and did his piercing ceremony and walked for over an hour through his garden as we did the ceremony. And in his garden, he had kept every medicine plant, his people, and had transplanted them there. His whole garden was a medicine sacred place. And the whole ceremony was just so powerful. And to him, when we left, we were both in tears. He was in tears because he knew he wasn't alone. He knew there were other tribes out there in the world that did ceremonies, that held ceremonies like his in a sacred way, that there were other brothers. That's part of the eagle and the condor prophecy. We need to come together. And to me, it was the confirmation I needed that, oh, no problem Sundancing now. If you can do that piercing ceremony with him, you're good to go. And I was good to go. So it's just a small little example of walking with everything together. How when we walk with all those things and don't separate them and just keep the whole hoop within ourselves and walk with it, we're given what we need. We're given the help to show where the next step is. So after that, he knew keeping his ceremony, it was time to bring it out. And he shared it since then. It's no longer a secret as it used to be. My friend that lives there actually sent me a video of the tribe where they were showing their ways. And before it was hidden, they wouldn't bring it out. So yeah, the hoop will bring us where we need to go. I hope the story and was good with you and shows you maybe how to be a little, bring everything together and how important it is for us to have our grandmothers and our grandfathers and our heart, but also our intellect and also the science, which will help us heal the earth and find ways to work together. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Lenny. That's a beautiful demonstration, and
Beautiful.
I
Thank
feel like
you.
we are the action when we come together with Patricia, who represents South America, and most of us are in North America, but we join each week and we become real to each other, and we have that direct experience of bringing the North and South together. So thank you all for this. And at this time, I'm hoping Michael will wrap things up for us.
Great. Thank you, Grandmother Gail. And it's always great to be here. Just want to once again acknowledge our Grandmother Council with Gail and with Marcia and also Patricia, aka Pachi Mama, and of course from our Wisdom Council weekly meeting from the North here in Canada and his territories. We want to just acknowledge and honor Lenny. So this is the third of our series, and we're going to keep going here. And it was a rather compelling but daunting homework task to think about, is and is not. But in a way, it's really such a simple, profound, and sublime message because in our relationship with self and the world and nature, I say biomimicry that we emulate and we are symbiotic with nature's intelligence. So it's nothing foreign, it's nothing overly exotic. It's just something that's really taps into our true nature. And as I contemplate the concept of is and is not, it brings me to that place of what we call the still point. It's, human beings being or human beings doing. And there's that place of beingness between action and stillness that is, it's a very profound state. Actually, in a lot of traditions, um, I practice Buddhism. And years ago, I had the opportunity to spend time with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, as part of this great body of what's called the Dzogchen teachings, which is the teachings of emptiness, which is strange for people here in our culture. Excuse me. So I find here in the general mindset that it's very challenging to not only for some grasp the understanding of emptiness, but to actually understand the nature of emptiness. And in this great body of these Buddhist Dzogchen teachings, the concept is where we basically get out of our own way, we get out of our own um, perceptions and perceptions and projections and our monkey brain, our thoughts, and all the things that tend to fill and sometimes saturate or overflow our consciousness, that we drop into a true state of emptiness. But within that emptiness, we actually allow our truest nature to emerge, which is actually complete peace and fulfillment. And not just within ourself, but the resonance of understanding but more importantly, a direct experience of our interconnection with the natural world, with the elements, with invisible beings, our ancestors, and many of these other aspects that we tend to, in our more Eurocentric mindset, not always have pervasive in our consciousness. So we tend to really reside in our frontal part of the brain, and even have not, yin yang. We have the tonal and the nagual parts of the brain. We have the conscious mind, and then we also have the subconscious mind. And like in this series, and like many have spoken, and in the practice, and what Lenny was sharing, it's important that we, through this great unity of these polarities and these dualities, we come into a state of a higher level of unity. So in a way, it is, the mending of our own sacred hoop of our beingness, but also it's a remembrance and a reconnection to the greater sacred hoop of all things in creation, and to, like is said, a homotakiyasin to all of our relations. It brings us into that state of connection and balance with all of our relations. The four-legged, two-legged, those that swim and crawl and fly, all beings, the plant nation, the trees, the celestial and heavenly energies. So, although we can think about, 0.0 is nothing, as we're taught in mathematics, but zero is actually the egg that holds the potentiality of everything to be created from that still point, from that place of emptiness. Also, as an interfaith minister, I'm not an overly religious person. I studied religion to try to understand the common ground of the spiritual nature of human beings. We also look at, the saying from Taoism, an Asian spiritual tradition, that, the greatest reaction to any action is no action at all. And I find this very viable teaching, especially in the work about nonviolent communication, compassionate communication. And as a minister, when I used to work with people in the sense of holistic lifestyle insights and coaching, and helping people to come to that place of balance and harmony and peace and compassion, to again mend their sacred hoop within themselves, which emanates into the whole universe. And like our sister Pachi saying, like also in Lakesh, this is a very universal concept, and very well articulated and embodied in the traditional wisdom of many indigenous cultures around the world. I mean, in the Aboriginal tradition, where they do these walkabouts where, even separated by miles and miles, that they still are in the sense of communication, and how when they walk in this earthly world, also their connection to the dream time, which they actually say the dream time, which is based on consciousness and not always experienced through the eyes, the nose, the mouth, through our ears, through touch, the five senses, six senses, touching, hearing, smelling, feeling, hearing, etc., that the dream time is actually the true foundational part of reality. So just to finish, I want to acknowledge a lot of the great work that Marsha also does around the concepts of wisdom's calling, blessings of liberty, and the idea of sovereignty. Because one of the things that I learned, along with many things, and took out of it, and again, there's many approaches to this sovereignty concept, but I appreciated that she came to it as a from a spiritual perspective and relating to consciousness was the idea of divine neutrality actually brings us to the understanding and the embodiment of our true sovereignty, even though we're all somehow we're independent, but we're somehow interdependent. But this idea of the sovereignty of our self in relationship to the creator, creation, the universe is a very powerful thing, because also I know, when I used to do environmental activism, I was, we were very involved in action, action, doing things, rolling up the sleeves, action, action. And I know a lot of very angry activists, and maybe rightfully so for some of the things that are happening. I'm not even going to talk about what's happening right now with the opening of national parks for energy exploration and the opening of national forests for the timber industry. But again, this is another great teaching about neutrality, because sometimes, again, we can be in a state of action, but it doesn't always have to result in overly obvious physical energetic expression of action. Sometimes the action we can do is really through our connection to what I would call source energy, and working with consciousness, working with the quantum world on a whole different level than just, chop wood, carry water, that we can do things in a very powerful way as it relates to consciousness. So very much like what's been spoke about here, action and stillness, and coming to that place of equilibrium and balance. Not saying that, we should sit in a cave and meditate and be still all the time, but being able to generate that level of stillness, and very much like in the Nipponzan Myohoji Japanese Buddhist tradition, like a walking meditation. How do we carry that consciousness, but also carry it through our action, where our actions just aren't, again, being dictated by the monkey mind? And for me, this is a huge component to the concept of mending the sacred hoop. So very happy to be here today. We just had the new moon, and I think a big part of this series of mending the sacred hoop is very powerful, especially right now. We're in Taurus sun, which is very much about grounding, anchoring, building, germinating, spring, developing. And we just had a new moon also in Taurus just yesterday. So it's just a very powerful time to allow yourself the freedom and space to be in that still point in emptiness, to allow this seed of is not to kind of germinate, and spend some time with that. I think here again in many parts of American society, and we want the drive-through, we want the quick fix, we want the band-aid on the wound, we want the instant enlightenment. But we have to do the work, and that's a really big part of what this whole mending the hoop sacred work is. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I'm so happy to be able to work with all of you, to work together in community, which makes all the difference. So thank you all so much. And we have a demonstration of the sacredness of the circle that we're going to share now. And then I'll sing us out with the gratitude song. So the elephants show us how to do.
We're in their habitat foraging for food. And when the ground started to shake, you could see they sort of jumped up and looked around, surveying their habitat to try to see where this information was coming from and is this dangerous? And then they all ran towards the middle of the habitat, and they were surveying the area around them, and then they gathered into an alert circle, and the youngest calf moves into the middle of that alert circle while the rest of the herd were pointing outwardly from that circle so that they could try to gather information to see what was this, does it pose any more danger, and what do we need to do next.
And they're protecting, that the youngest among them, which was lovely to see. It has a name, obviously, as you said, an alert circle. What is it like for you, someone who does this work, to see that unfold?
For the wildlife care specialists that spend their time caring for the herd of elephants here at the safari park, it's wonderful to see them respond appropriately to the environmental cues that they're given. While we do live in Southern California and have earthquakes, it's not a common occurrence. And so for them to be engaged in their environment and pick up on the signals that they're getting and respond appropriately, it's remarkable to see. And it's remarkable to see that those family bonds are so strong that they come together immediately to care for one another. So Zuli and Makai are the youngest in the herd at 7 years old, and Kosi is 18. And it was interesting to see in this video that Zuli, rather than being in the middle, he stood next to his mom pointing outwardly in the circle, and Kosi next to him kept reaching her trunk back and sort of touching him, almost like she's checking on him, maybe wondering, how come you're on the outside of the circle and not on the inside? At one point, Zuli's got his trunk in the air and he's smelling. Like, can he smell anything? Can he smell the danger coming? The elephants they've got their ears out, they're listening. They also have the ability to feel sound vibrations through their feet that travel several miles. So they're really just sort of in that moment, frozen, trying to gather as much information as they can so they can decide what's our next move.
Yeah.
And that's a survival strategy that all elephants have.
Thank you, Michael. We love seeing nature in the elephants, one of the oldest life forms on Turtle Island, on Mother Earth. So this concludes our sharing tonight. And if anyone has something they want to add at this time, they're welcome to. Otherwise, I will sing a gratitude song and close us out. Does anybody want a moment? No? Trisha's waving good night.
Well,
Marcia,
as I was listening to Lenny and listening to the people relating their relationship with with both and listening to the eagle and the condor, I got, it was so very personal for me when my head, all my rational, all the things that I've read, all the knowledge that I've acquired is in resonance with my heart. When the eagle is flying in harmony with the condor inside of my own self, it emulates into the world. It comes into the world. That we have a tendency to look to the world for the answers when the answers and the harmony comes from within.
yes, thank you for sharing that experience, Marcia. Anyone else have something to add? Okay, join me in this gratitude song. Hold the love and gratitude in your heart as we close out our session on both and.
And really quick, Gail, I would like to just point out again the difference of information that people seem saturated with, and the idea of information as an aspect or part of knowledge, and how knowledge and action becomes true wisdom. And just that we meet every week as a wisdom council to talk about these different topics and important things. And through this podcast, we turn outwardly like the elephants to kind of share this with people in the world that have ears to listen, eyes to see, and time to participate. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. morning.